Hey guys, welcome to the first episode of My Victory Story. So we're gonna kick off this vlog with making of the dinner, and I want to take you guys through what I am making for my guest. So stay tuned until we get to the main conversation. Oh yeah, let the conversation start. So guys, just to introduce my guest, her name is Thulani Jere. Am I pronouncing it right?
Yes.
So yeah, me and Thulani met when I was doing my pregnancy photo shoot. Actually, her husband is a photographer, and we just fell in love with the couple, man. I remember like when we came back, me and my husband were like, we need to host them someday. We were even planning a couple trip. We're like, we need to have them, hang out with them. They're really nice people. And I just admired how she was saving her husband like effortlessly. So, and I remember telling him that you've got a good helper here.
You did. You did.
She was so good with me, and obviously I searched for you. I didn't take your number that day because it was going to be awkward. So I searched for you, and then I found your handle through your husband's page because obviously he had to post our pictures, and then I DM'd you, and here we are. I think she's my friend. She doesn't know it yet.
Why don't be everyone's friend?
Okay, so yeah, let's start with the conversation. She's going to share her story, very powerful story about how God helped her overcome the addiction of porn.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So, hello everyone. I think that for me, it didn't just begin with the porn.
Yeah.
It began with me starting a relationship with God.
Okay.
And I feel like sometimes we want to overcome things on our own.
Yeah.
And we can never overcome anything on our own.
Yeah.
I mean, I was introduced to porn at a very young age. I feel like the environment where I was in was, now that I understand it spiritually, there's a lot of sexual things going on in the bloodline. So I was introduced to porn because the people who were in the house were watching porn. Obviously, as a child, you pick up a DVD,
You were exposed.
you
to
open it,
Mm.
and then you see something. Then porn is like, it draws you in because the first time you open it and then you close and you're like, what did I see?
Yeah.
Then you come back again, you're like, but what did I see? And then you start watching, you keep watching, keep watching, and then that's how the addiction began. And I was also molested as a child by my grandfather, so he would also show me the porn and everything, and the porn booklets and everything. And from after that, after the introduction of porn and I grew up, now no one needed to show me anything because I am my own person now. The addiction is just carrying through.
Yeah.
And I feel that when I met Jesus, the porn addiction was not even one of the things that I thought I would overcome.
Yeah.
Like, addiction is so overpowering that you don't know how you are ever going to let this thing go.
Yeah.
So I remember when I was giving my life to Jesus, I was like, I listed all the sins that I know. I'm like, God, you know that I struggle with this and that and that and that.
Yeah.
And me following you means that I have to let go of all these things that I'm struggling with. Are you going to help me? And he said, yes. So here I am today,
It's a victory story today.
Yeah, it is.
So you speak about how it was introduced to you and how it became an addiction for you, like when you grew up. I want to know, because that happened before you knew Jesus, which means it happened before you knew the truth, right? How did you know or come to the conclusion that it's an addiction? Because maybe someone could be watching and not knowing they're actually addicted, but they are. But maybe after watching this video, they're gonna realize that this is an addiction. So tell us about a time where you got to realize that this is not good. What, like when it started being uncomfortable? Because I can imagine as a child, whatever that you're exposed to is normal to you, and then until maybe you get to hear or something happens, and then now you can validate between the thing being wrong or right. So take us through a moment where you realize it started becoming uncomfortable for you.
I think for me it was when after I got born again. Because now I'm born again, and here I am still watching porn before I go to church. So you do understand that there's a problem there. It's like I'm trying to worship Jesus. Meanwhile, I feel this thing,
Dirty.
you know. So that's when I knew that, okay, this thing is a problem, because I thought after I got born again, it was all gonna go away
immediately.
Everything was gonna fade, new creation, everything. But actually, that's not what happened. So that's how I knew that, okay, this thing is, because I couldn't control it. That's when I knew that it is an addiction, because it was overpowering me. I want to pray, and yet I look at a video before I go pray. So that's a problem.
So then it's a painful thing. You do it anyway because you're addicted, but it hurts you. Was it like hating for you to do it, or was it satisfying to do it? Although you know you're gonna regret later, kind of a thing. I don't know.
It's always the shame that comes afterwards. Like, you can do something and then it feels good in a moment, but how you feel afterwards is what determines if you're doing the right thing or not. So for me, it was doing it and getting the satisfaction and the pleasure that I wanted, but afterwards I feel so dirty, like I can't even do anything.
How has that affected you, like mentally, socially? Were you feeling awkward, especially around males, if you're comfortable to share that? How was it for you?
During the addiction or afterwards?
During the addiction. We're gonna come to the to the restoration part, because like some of the people need to understand, because like I'm saying, some will get to realize that this is where I'm at. Maybe they cannot define exactly where they are because they're still in the dark. But I'm sure after your story, someone is going to be saved, definitely, right? So I just want you to take us through how you felt. Wait, was it awkward? Was it, you know?
Okay, so I think
relating to other people.
I think with porn, especially with now that it's being so normalized, to say that obviously masturbation goes with porn. Because you don't masturbate looking at a ceiling. You will look at something, either a picture or whatever. So I think that relating with other people was on a lust level. Because I would see you, and the first thing I think about is, I wonder what it's like, what you look like when you have sex. So do you understand that everyone that I met, I would objectify the person, regardless of who the person is. It could be like a priest there preaching, and I'm like, oh, and now I wonder, you know, like it could be anyone. But because of how porn objectifies people, that I see you and immediately my first thought is, I wonder what it's like to not to have sex with you even. Like, what do you look like when you have sex? You understand? So I think that was one thing that I knew afterwards that it was a problem, because even after I got born again, I would look at people and then the thoughts will come.
Same thoughts,
because you objectify. That's all you do. That's what porn does.
But thank God, here you are today.
So
the reason why I loved your story is because we never hear of this kind of testimonies. I'm sure a lot of people are going through the same thing in the church. But because at church you have to be holier than thou, especially in our African community, and also African leaders as well. for you to talk about these things is a taboo. It's like you are dirty. You can actually be silenced. Growing up, people were cut off for falling pregnant, right? Instead of trying to understand what is going on, what caused that, so they can help them. Or maybe start praying with them, you know, because being born again, yes, we know that God blesses us. We know that we need cars materially. People focus on testimonies that are about cars, houses, and everything. But for me, when a life is transformed, like you say, when you get this kind of freedom, this is a real testimony for me. This is actually what Jesus died on the cross for, because now you are free. You no longer feel condemned. You are able to serve in your purpose. You are able to, you know, relate well with other people, chill with other people, without having to think about like what you were saying. So do you mind telling us, has this affected your marriage? Or
Actually, we were actually just recently talking about this, that the effects of porn go beyond. You know, you might not think that you are addicted to the thing, or you might not think that it's a problem. Until now, you are married, and then God commands us to be faithful. And faithfulness doesn't only mean I'm not sleeping with other people. It means in your mind, in your heart,
thoughts.
Everything about you needs to be faithful to your spouse. So now my biggest challenge after I got married was that now I felt like I didn't know how to have sex. I felt like all the images that I've seen about sex, I didn't now know what sex is. So how do I now have holy sex? Because the sex that I've been having has been unholy. You know, so that was my biggest challenge. And also, while you are having sex, remember that when I was watching porn, I was satisfying myself with these images, right? So now if I am with my husband and I'm trying to get arousal, or I'm trying to climax, or whatever it is, what am I thinking about? What comes in my mind? And those are the images that would come. So imagine I'm trying to have pleasure with my husband that God has
what
given
God
me.
created for the marriage.
Exactly. But meanwhile, I'm fighting thoughts in my own mind to say, why am I thinking about this? Why is this picture coming? Do you understand how difficult it is to actually enjoy yourself sexually in marriage? So that was the biggest challenge for me.
Thank you very much for being so bold to share that, because we've got so many, I mean, like the divorce rate, especially in the church, is so high. And people are not ready to have this kind of, you know, candid conversations, right? So you always hear finances are the biggest part of, but even this one can be, you know, or the baggage that you carry into your marriage can be one of the things that actually cause divorce. But is the church ready to have this kind of candid conversations? And I'm so happy that we have platforms like this that we can unapologetically talk about this. And I want to believe that our victory stories are not just for us. God knew why you had to go through that. And when he took you out of that, he knew that you're going to save a lot of people. Because sometimes the gospel can be preached through a story, right? Maybe someone's marriage is about to be restored today because they're going to find out there is God who can restore, you know, and nothing is too dirty for God to clean up. Well done, and congratulations on your victory story.
Thank you so
much. So here you are. I just love you so much, man. And you studying, you went back to school. I mean, God is just so awesome. Do you want to take us through that as well? Because I think it's a powerful story to share.
Yes, I'm back at school. I decided to go. I didn't decide to go back to school. I actually didn't do well at school. And I dropped out like somewhere there. I dropped out and I couldn't adversity. I was doing accounting. And then I dropped out of accounting. And then I went and I started working. But you know when you're doing something and you can't see a future in the thing. So I was doing this learnership thing. The job was good.
Yeah.
But I knew that I'm not being fulfilled in this. And then that's when, church is good. That's when I went to church, and then I had an encounter with God when he was telling me to go back to school.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but how do I go back to school? Because I don't have money,
After
God.
how many years?
After so many years, go back to school. What am I gonna do at school? Because that was the biggest issue. What am I gonna study at school?
Yeah.
And when God led me to go back to school, I think it was just amazing for me, because he pointed out the root of why I didn't want to go back to school, because I was afraid to fail.
Yeah.
And because I had failed, I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want anything to do with school.
Yeah.
When people graduate and then you hear those remarks, they won't get jobs.
Yeah.
It's just the qual, because you know when you didn't finish school. And now I'm actually studying, doing education, and I am loving it, and I see God just taking me through. Yeah.
That is so awesome. That is so nice. Okay, and one last question, if we still have time. Okay, what can you say to someone going through exactly what you went through right now and desperately wanting to overcome it?
I think that God knows our hearts. God knows. Like, when you fully repent in your heart, God knows it and he sees it.
Yeah.
I think that the first step to overcoming any addiction is actually recognizing that the addiction itself is sin.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we cover sin. We decorate it. We want it to look nice. We justify our sin. And the minute you say, God, this thing is sin, and I don't want to do it anymore. Because when I was single, I would say, I don't have a husband, so I'm masturbating and I'm watching porn.
You're defending the sin.
Yes.
Yeah.
For as long as you're defending the sin will not leave you.
Sure, that's powerful.
But the minute you start recognizing the sin for what it is, and you say, God, I agree with you. You come into agreement with God. I agree with you. This thing is not right.
Yeah.
Then that's when God starts giving you power to overcome. And there is no power without Jesus.
Yeah.
So if you yourself don't have a relationship with God, you need to start there. We start there.
Yeah.
We start with Jesus, because on the cross, that's where the sins are nailed.
Yeah.
So if you don't have a relationship with Jesus, start there, because he's the one who empowers you to be able to overcome. And it is possible. Like, when you are in an addiction, it feels like
it could be any kind of an addiction.
Anything.
Yeah, alcohol,
it can be alcohol,
drugs, or
drugs, anything. And now I've been addicted to all of them, so I know that it can be anything.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I think that's the first thing for me. Recognize it as a sin. Give your life to Jesus.
Yeah, true.
And he will help you. The Holy Spirit will help you, give you power to overcome and resist. The thing about it, people feel that when you fall into sin, like the more you fall into sin or whatever addiction it is, say you want to quit and then you decide to drink today, or you want to quit or you decide to watch porn today.
Yeah.
You give up and you say you are not going to pray anymore. It's not working.
Yeah.
No, don't do that.
Yeah.
If you are on a journey and you are praying and believing God to set you free, even during the watching of the porn or during the drinking, you pray and say, Father, save me.
Yeah.
I would pray every time after and say, God, save me. I don't want this. I don't want to do this.
Yes.
And God sees that and he responds to that.
Yeah.
And you will see that the more you resist, then you will overcome.
You overcome. Wow,
Yeah.
that is so powerful. Thank you so much for coming. I cannot thank you enough. I owe you flowers. Okay, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, give it a thumbs up, comment below, and share. This is King Evangeli.
This is the gospel of
this
Jesus
is the
Christ.
gospel. Share with your friends or anyone that you know who's struggling with addiction. I think this was such a powerful episode, and we just thank God for that. Thank you so much. Cheers, guys. See you in the next episode.